Episode 613, take one.
Grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Anne from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandy from Suburban Home Center, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, y'all. Hey, I'm Ann with Andale Homestead.
Hello, everyone. It is Cayce over at Ormsby Farms.
I'm Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
And this is Sandy with Suburban Home Center, Wyoming, Arizona.
Now, y'all, we have a really fun episode tonight about foraging. But if you're out foraging right now and just listening to us, but you want to see what we're talking about, head over to YouTube. So we have a LinkTree link that's always in our show notes. You can click on that, go over to YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you know when new episodes come out. And then you can see our bright and smiley faces along with pictures when we actually show things. Because I think this episode, Anne, don't you agree that this episode is going to be very important to be able to see?
It is.
Just hear.
Yes.
Because foraging can be, if you're picking stuff that you really shouldn't be picking, and that's not what it is, it could be a little dangerous. So come on over and join us on YouTube, and see the video. So now I'm going to pass it over to Anne and talk more about foraging.
Foraging is something that I have really been interested in diving into. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just cracking the door to a whole world of information. And I mean, there are people that study foraging their entire lives, and they're able to go out and feed their entire family. I remember being a little girl going on a plantation that was here in Edenton, and the wife showed me in the woods the things that they would go and gather, and it's so interesting. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is mostly on the medicinal side of foraging. And I was able to go out in my yard and pick a few things just to share with you tonight. But Sandy, we have some really interesting information to share about how you can medicate yourself with things that you can go and forage naturally. What do you think you might start off with?
Well, first, let me do a little side note, okay? We are not medical doctors. This
Absolutely.
is just experience that we've had from some of it passed down through history of our families. Some of it we've just learned and we've tested and tried things. So always, don't take medical advice from people that are not your doctors. But we're just going to tell you our experiences. And we always want you to make sure that you're knowing the plant that you're picking. You want to be very careful. Now, some things are pretty easy. You see calendula, and Casey's going to pop up a picture of calendula. It's just such a great plant. It's easy to grow in your yard. If you don't pick all the flowers, it's going to seed, and that wind is going to blow it around your yard, and you're going to have little calendulas next spring popping up all over the place. Some you want and some you don't want. But,
That's the hope for
but
me.
when I go foraging, I always bring a couple books, and I like to bring a book that has photographs, and I like to bring a book that has drawings. So this is one of my books, and so if you're just listening, you won't be able to see this, but this is a pencil drawing of calendula. Because once you pick that flower, it starts to wilt before you get home most of the time. And so if you have some references, we were talking before, but we have some plant apps, and that can be very helpful when you're trying to identify a plant, because you always want to be correct on what you're doing. And Cayce, now there's different parts to a plant. And so depending on your herb or your flower or your tree, you may use different parts of that plant. So what kind of thing have you used? Have you only used the flowers? Have you only used the leaves? What kind of experience do you have?
Well, let me tell you, the one thing that I did is I always listen to Sandy, but she was talking one day about this herbal book, and I'm gonna try to do two things at once and put myself big and talk at the same time, but it doesn't always work. But it's this one right here. It's the Complete Guide to Old World Medicinal Plants. And the one thing that I love about this is it says, I'm just trying to find one really quickly. It tells you every part of the plant that you can use.
It does.
And also what it's for.
It's a little bit kind of like a textbook style.
It is. It's very. There's no pictures. There's no coloring sheets in it, y'all. So I mean, this is truly just for if you want the research on it. But I mean, like right here, it talks about how females can use it. Because sometimes it works differently for females than it does for males. This one is right here is for the painful periods and that kind of stuff. But it breaks it down so nicely for you. All the way, I don't know why I pulled to this one page, and that's the one I go on.
The one page you pull.
This should tell you how knowledgeable I am of the herbs. And to answer your question, Sandy, I really haven't done a lot with other than just the flower. One that we have a lot of in the South, and do you have goldenrod?
We do.
Yeah,
That I had to learn when I was on the old homestead what it was, because it grew literally like weeds.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
Everywhere. And I dried it out and used it for that. But I haven't really experimented too much with the ones that you can use the roots or the leaves and that kind of stuff. Monica, what are you a person that are you brave enough to try all the different parts yet?
I am a forager for my medicinals on the websites. Okay, that's where I forage for my herbs currently. I am not in the I am not one that's actively going out and foraging. Now, I love my little apps like Sandy recommended or said that she, if you're not having the book, I love my little apps. And I've got the picture of this app and then the new one that Sandy just told me about, which looks also equally amazing, is the PlantNet app. And so I use those because I have kids and they'll often be like looking around the yard or the pasture and they're like, "What is this, Mom?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I don't carry a book on me 24/7 when I'm just walking. So I pull my phone out, which is always on me, and I take a picture or whatever, and it helps so much. Now, I have yet to really forage and take back things. My sister is really great at that, and she's been learning. And she was telling me about the henbit. I guess henbit is a nettle or a type of nettle. Henbit is one of the ones around here a lot.
Oh, okay.
It's another name for it. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, henbit's so great, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "That's great." And then you see like my niece and nephew grabbing it and like eating the like flowers. I'm like, "Y'all are crazy because this is a farm," but they do that stuff and they love it. And it has like this really fun little taste to it. And they think it's great. And that's about as foraging as I get, is the walking with my sister and asking her what's what. But no, I mean, I have used the like the root, like the marshmallow roots. I've used the root of the marshmallow plant. I have used the flowers of the calendula flower. I have used different parts of plants at different times, but my foraging usually comes straight from Amazon. There's
nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's my reality right now, but I do know how to do things with it. Once I have that in my hands, I have learned how to make the salves and how to make the tinctures and how to make, the infusions. Those are things I'm actively learning and practicing. And I think we actually have an entire episode on doing infusions, don't we? With like the herbal remedies and things. Right. So, I mean, I really, was exciting to do that calendula stuff. And I know Miss Ann's, actively doing that, but that was such a fun thing for me to learn how to do. And because of that episode, I do a lot more of that now. I'm just not really actively foraging out in the wild yonder right now.
And that's okay. I mean, you're learning is the thing.
Exactly.
We're all learning, and we're learning what it does, how to utilize it. Eventually, you'll learn how to recognize it, to be able to find it in the wild. Just just this evening I went out and picked a few things. But while we're on calendula, I do have a jar of calendula flowers here. And then, oopsie, and the calendula flowers that have been dried. And then I soak them, I infuse them in castor oil. And this was done January the 5th, 2025. So you let it sit up for a while and then strained it. And here's some strained. And that is really awesome for your skin and issues and scars. And I have psoriasis. It helps with that. There's all sorts of things that you can use it for. It helps with inflammation, just helps with your skin in general. So that was fun to be able to do.
Now, what part of the calendula can you use? Is that one of those plants where it's like just the flower? Or I'm sure if people, after they listen to this episode, can go listen to our full, I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes episode that we did of the calendula. But what part of the calendula is best to use?
Just the flower.
Yes.
So it's a just the flower kind of plant, huh?
Yep. Just pick the flower. just pop off that head.
Well, and that's a good point, because there are a lot of plants and herbs that you may only use one part of it. Or when you go to use the different plant, the roots do something different than the leaves do or the flowers do. And that's just something you need to do a lot of research. Or if you're lucky enough, you had grandmothers that would walk you through the fields and say, this is what I do with this. Or maybe you can meet somebody that's a forager and does things like that. Here in Wyoming, we have a guy he's a huge forester. He forages all the time and he does classes, and it's really interesting. He'll literally just take you through town and say, you might have thought this was just a weed, but this isn't just a weed.
That's awesome.
And like Anne has some dandelions.
I do. There's the picture of the dandelions. And y'all, I went all over my yard my yard was covered with dandelions last week, but now they're all big and they're fuzzies all over the yard and everything. So, I mean, I couldn't just pop off the flowers. I did, however, pop off the flowers last year. So I have some dandelion tea that's in here ready to go. But the dandelion flower, you can use the leaves for your salads and things like that. I'm not real keen on using the leaves for the salad because they have kind of a weird taste to me. But if I'm really starving, I can go out and eat out of the yard. But the roots, now these have been washed, the roots and the tap roots for a dandelion can go 6 to 8 feet. It can go way, way, way deep. But the roots, if you cut them off, chop them up, dry them, they make absolutely delicious tea. And it helps and it's really good tea. I mean, it's kind of a nutty flavor, sort of, kind of, a little bit. And I add a little bit of honey to it. But it helps with digestion. It helps with kidney health. They help with all sorts of things. Let's see. It's nutrition, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, helps with your blood sugar, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your liver health, weight loss, anti-cancer, digestion, immunity, skin health, and bone health. Who would think from a little
Dandelions.
Yeah, but that's the root that's doing that. Where if you made a tea with the leaves, which is kind of a bitter, that's a diuretic. It makes you pee, honestly.
Yeah. Andy, is there the one tea? I may be thinking of a different one. That the dandelion and chamomile is like the best sleepy time homemade tea, or am I thinking of a different flower?
Chamomile is a great sleepy time tea.
But I could have sworn that I remember seeing somebody do the dandelion and chamomile together.
Well, they could have, because they were probably using the root of the dandelion, because it's, like Anne said, it's very anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. So it does a lot of good things. you can make a really nice tonic from those roots, and it's really great
Mm-hmm.
for your liver or your blood. They call them blood tonics. And
Mm-hmm.
so that can be really helpful to boost your immune system and make you feel better, because there's different herbs that when if you're feeling tired, you can make teas out of.
So if I'm full of fluid and I need to get rid of some extra fluid, I can make a tea out of these leaves.
Yeah, but you just have to know it is a little bitter. If you can get them when they very first start, the newest leaves are not as bitter. Like when you're making a salad with
A
dandelion leaves,
pretty big one.
you want the newest leaves because it's not
Okay.
as bitter. But the whole plant is great. I mean, I do make jelly and jams out of the flowers,
Yeah.
so people call it a weed. I think it's the one of the best plants ever.
It's really cool. I tell my husband, don't you be killing those dandelions out there. I need to go. And then when you get the kids out there with you, and it's like Easter egg hunting, you're running and getting the dandelions here and there and
Yeah.
everywhere. So that was fun.
So I have a question for you, Sandy, or anybody. How do you, if say you're foraging and you really want to go forage and find some medicinals and you
Mhm.
see some medicinals or you're looking, how do you know, or what is a good book or a resource to figure out what parts do what? So like, let's just say I have yarrow. Okay. And I know
Yep.
it's yarrow because I
Okay.
planted it and it went
Right.
crazy and now
Yep.
it's in my yard and it's living its best life. How do I know what parts are useful and which ones are maybe harmful if it was a certain plant?
Well, that would be research. That would be having some good books. Now, um, I have always believed that if you could only grow one plant, you should, one herb, you should grow yarrow,
Hmm.
because the entire plant is good for stuff.
Okay.
But it's like with yarrow, it's the leaves that can do a lot of things. Like if you have cuts, you're out it you and the kids are out someplace,
Mhm.
you can literally pack yarrow into that cut and it will stop the bleeding.
Okay.
um, During wars in the United States, Civil War, um, when they were getting their independence from Britain, that's what doctors did, because they had to use plants that were around them.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so you have to have some good books, and there are some great books out there. Like this is by the same guy of Casey's book, Matthew Wood, and it's a
Mhm.
book on herbal wisdom. I like it because it has the black and white pictures in there too, besides all the information.
Okay.
But like there's a book called Wild Medicinal Plants. These are
Okay.
great books. And see, look at all these tabs of things that I learned from.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And this is another great one. It's a forager's harvest, and it's
Ooh.
edible wild plants. It tells you with each thing what you can do, how to harvest it, what time of the year to harvest it. And it, like at cattails, that's where I have it marked. It'll even tell you how you can take the pollen and make pancake batter.
What?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So there's so much resources out there. But like when I go foraging, there's things I bring. I always bring a couple books. I'm going to bring my camera. One, I want my plant net, in case
Mhm.
I'm questioning it. But I also want to take a picture of that plant that that I'm taking home. So
Yeah.
I know what it looks like when it's alive. Then I know what it looks like when it's dry.
Yeah.
You take a notebook, make some notes on anything that's around it, what you see, you want to have enough information so that before you ingest it or you make a salve from it, you know exactly what you have.
Right.
There's well, there's stories about when the pioneers came across the country. Some things they thought were wild onions were not wild onions, and it killed people. They thought they were parsnips, but they were a deadly parsnip.
Oh,
So you don't want to ingest anything unless you actually know what you're doing. Now, some things are pretty obviously, I mean, dandelions, but there is a false dandelion. It's not the one that's in your yard, but in the woods, you could find a false dandelion and it is not the same.
mm.
So you want to know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. See, I think that's the part that scares me because I have seen what I thought was yarrow, and then I've had people say, "No, no, no, that's hemlock. That's hemlock. You'll die." And I'm like, I ain't
Oh,
trying to die because I think
oops.
it's yarrow, and that's one of the ones that it freaked me out because I was like, I'm not trying to kill people. I'll just
Yeah.
order from Amazon, put it in my yard myself, and then know what I've got. But I think that's the part that sometimes scares people, and I'm just gonna say
Mhm.
it, people probably in general, me, but others,
Yeah.
is that they are
Oh
afraid
yeah.
that they'll grab things that maybe aren't. So I like that you were saying, so take some books, take your phone or whatever you have to help you identify. And by having the picture of it, then you can go back and double check before you put it in your mouth or your children's mouths or whatever you're doing with it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes so much more sense too. Cause I think that's what scares me is that I'm afraid that my eyes will deceive me or what I'm looking at is not, knowing my knowledge isn't enough until I've done it a bunch of times. Until you do a
Right.
recipe a bunch of
Yes.
times, you don't know how to do the recipe by heart. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what scares me because I'm not out there actively foraging and practicing the skill.
Right.
And so I
Mhm.
think that's something to be said for that. Sandy has such confidence with it. And I am literally like, nah, I'll just order it. But
No,
but I want to be able to do it.
I'll tell you, it took me a year before I tried the wild mulberry that was in my farm because I was like, I kept on like seeing myself eating it and croaking. Like
Yeah.
that's not mulberry, but I had to wait until I was in town. I can't remember how it happened, but it was about a year. And I was just mentioning it to some of the older farmers that were at the farmers market. And they're like, oh, yeah, that grows all over the place. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, great. So then I was able to literally forage enough to make a batch of mulberry jam.
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah.
not give you that, Monica, when you came to visit? I thought
No, but you're reminding me of the grapes that we have in our back. I've seen them. We didn't know they were really grapes. We didn't know what they were. And then people were like, oh, yeah, they're called Mustang grapes. They grow all over. And you eat them when they're not, cooked, they'll make your mouth like tingle and it feels weird. And I'm like, but knowing that it was something safe for us to process and use,
Mhm.
and everybody's telling me about it. Same thing, kind of Cayce, right? People are like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that grows everywhere. And now I'm like, you better believe I'm going to go to everybody's house that I know and get all their grapes because they're just letting them go. So this year I'm going double time on everybody's yards. But how
Well,
long until, I got the confidence to do something like that?
right.
yeah, well, I could tell you, we have the birds apparently brought an elderberry seeds in the
Fun.
back of our yard, right by the pond, right by the creek, and we have an elderberry tree back there. But it took me. I still haven't made any elderberry juice because I'm scared. I'm scared to death to make it. I'm not. I don't know what I'm doing. And people say if they're not cooked, the berries will make you very, very sick on elderberry. So
Well, they
anything
certainly
has
give
to
you a
be
belly ache for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
yeah.
just take them and dry them out and then make some elderberry syrup.
Yeah, but there's resources around you.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't have somebody that's just somebody that forages, go, take it into the extension office
Mm-hmm.
or have a master
Yeah.
gardener come out to your house because that's part of a master gardener program is coming to people's houses and helping them.
I didn't know that. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
No, yeah, we have to go on yard calls. That's part of our thing.
What?
Yeah,
And
we had
My
someone that
goodness.
did that with our fruit trees. He was great. He was a master gardener, and bless his heart, this is awful, but he very big, large, heavy set man, and I felt so bad. He was doing the full yard, my full 10 acres. I thought, I'm gonna get this
Oh
man
my.
a heart attack walking all over because I had so many questions.
In the heat
But
of Georgia.
yes, hmm
yeah,
What? That's so cool
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an extension office, because some places don't, maybe you're a smaller town, sometimes there's conservation districts, and some of them will help you. A weed and pest company can help you usually. There's a state weed and pests. A lot of times they can help you. So use the resources around you. Like earlier, we were talking, and Ann said that she had little purple flowers all in her yard.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got 'em right here.
and so, Ann, tell us about those.
Oh, well, those are the violets that we were talking about
Yeah,
earlier, but this is purple dead nettle. I hope. That is not purple
that's
dead nettle.
stinging nettles.
Oh, it's
So,
different.
It's
I'm
yeah.
different.
messing up.
So I went around and because previously there were thousands and thousands of these little flowers everywhere, but the weather has changed and they're dying off. And I wanted to get something that looked a little bit green, but this is what it looks like. And normally it has little purple flowers. Oh, little purple flowers on the top of it. Most of the flowers are gone because of various weather things. And so the purple nettle is also really good. Let's see, I've got my notes here. It is good for nutrition. You can eat it right out of the yard. My grandson did, and he's still alive. Still alive. So that's a good thing. But it has vitamin A and C and K and iron and fiber. It helps with the healthy immune function, antioxidant, antibacterial, antifungal, relieves allergy symptoms, which is cool, reduces pain and inflammation, and fights free radicals. But it's just the leaves from my research. It's the leaves and the flowers, not the stems or the roots, or as Sandy says, roots. But it's just the leaves and the flowers. Now, there is an imposter that looks very similar to purple dead nettle. And so it took me like 3 or 4 years to get up the nerve this summer when it was everywhere. That's when I finally got, and I dried myself some. I didn't put any in a tincture like I wanted to, but I did dry some, and I still am able to go out in the yard and pick it. And you can make teas, you can make salves, you can put it in a carrier oil or even a tincture, and that can help you. So that was really cool.
Casey, will you pop up those little violets? Because I think Anne probably has those in her yard too.
I do have little purple
Yeah,
flowers everywhere,
yeah.
but
So if you pop it up again, see, a lot of people will some people call them Johnny jump ups.
mhm,
They're little purple flowers. They're a type of violet. They grow in people's grasses, you know. So as long as you haven't sprayed your grass or put weed and feed on your grass, something like that, because you don't want to use your plants if that's what's happened.
right.
Um, these are a great little thing. And I mean, you can literally crunch them all up, put them on a bug bite or a bee sting, and it will help it.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
the only thing you have to remember is that the yellow ones of these you can't use. They are not
Okay.
the same. You can have the whole purple ones, the ones that have purple and white, but don't do anything. Don't make a syrup or anything with the yellow ones because it just has a little bit different chemistry to it, and it's not good for you. So you just need to know that. But you can literally go out into your yard and just take your scissors and cut the whole plant, and it will regrow itself.
Okay. I mean, I do have a lot of little purple flowers all over the place, but I have a lot of little yellow flowers all over the place too.
Well,
So,
but that's when you can go back to your books, go back to your app, um, and if you still can't find it, then ask somebody. But like
okay.
things that people just have, like how many people have access to blackberry or raspberries? I mean, they may be growing wild, they may be in your yard, but you can literally use the berry, the leaves, the roots,
Mhm.
and they do different things. Like the berries, you would make like a syrup that maybe for a cough syrup, you can add some other things to it. The leaves are just fabulous, especially for women to add you dry the leaves and you can make it into teas. You can add it to your other tea mixtures. It's just really good for you.
Now,
If
Sandy, when you
you
said that with the violets, what you said a syrup. What would the syrup be used for if you did like a violet syrup, the blue violet syrup?
um you could use that um for sore throat. You could use it sometimes I make syrups that are sweet that I can add to things that don't taste very good. But I wanted to,
Okay.
especially when the kids were younger and I wanted them to take it, so I could mix that so it kind of masks it. I know that
Okay,
probably
that's
sounds
great.
terrible, but
No.
you, with those little violets, you're just using the leaves and the flowers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and and you were showing us earlier, you have the way that you store your things when
Oh,
you like I have just the name of it on top of my jars, the goldenrod tincture. But you have something different that I want to start doing.
Okay, so like this is a calendula tincture, and we've talked about calendula already, right? But I write on there what I can use it for. And I also write for skin only because some herbs you cannot ingest. You can use them topically, but you shouldn't ingest them. And so, like my calendula, just like when Anne is using the infusion of an oil, my
Hmm.
tincture I can use for burns and bruises, cuts, minor infections. Actually, an earache, you could actually put it in because it's not actually, you're not ingesting it.
Yeah,
But that's just
it's
something I
so
do.
awesome. Because I mean, if a tree falls on my head, my family's not going to know what to do with all these jars of things that I have made. They're not going to have a clue. So to be able to put the instructions on there of the dosage and what it's used for.
Well, right. Like this is called red root. It's a tincture. It's really good for your lymph nodes, your liver, flus, congestion. But I wrote on there um, 30 drops 4 times a day.
Wow.
And it's a tincture I made with alcohol. And so then I know, and if you can't take it just like the 30 drops, I like to put it under my tongue just because it goes into your system fast. But you could easily make put it in a tea or orange juice or something that would mask it and then just drink it down.
I did. I got the oregano oil because oregano is the
Mm.
antibiotic. Huh? And
Have
I
some
would
right
put
here that I made.
drops in bottled water for the day. My big half gallon looking
Yeah,
bottle,
yeah,
putting the 30 drops in that. Then you're drinking it throughout the day, so you're staying hydrated, but you're also getting that natural antibiotic. Huh?
Yeah.
Again, we are not doctors or anybody here, but we have done our research and it's worked for us. And it really, when I had tooth pains and I thought I was going to need to either get teeth pulled or whatever, when they normally put you on antibiotics, I used the oregano oil or not the oregano oil, the oregano tincture in my water, and it cleared it up for this.
That's so awesome. That's
Mhm.
so awesome.
Yeah,
yeah.
the medicinals are awesome. I think we're going to do another episode on this or something along this lines in the future, aren't we, Cayce? We have another one coming up, don't
We
we?
are. Next week, we're actually talking more about like getting your medicinal cabinet together. I mean, from foraging for the herbs. So
Yeah.
we'll get to Sandy's brain some more on some fun ways to stock up your
That's right. Well,
Well,
we all learn
one,
together.
yeah, I was going to say we're all going to have a lot to add to that. I think it's fun because we're really able, again, we're not doctors. We don't know what we're doing with, helping you get through this, but we're trying to tell you what we've learned and experience wise. So you have to do your own research and know that what you do, what you feel comfortable doing. I think I say that a lot for my own people when I'm talking to them. You have to do what you feel comfortable doing, not just because Sandy does it or Ann or Cayce or I do it. You have to feel comfortable
Right.
doing it for yourself.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week and talking some more about medicinals and starting our apothecary and having those things on our shelves and how we use them and maybe how you can start doing your own thing like that. So thanks a lot for coming by and listening to us today. It is about that time, and we want you to come and join us tomorrow, because whatever you're listening to today, if it's actually day it's been released, then we're going to talk about it tomorrow over on YouTube at on our evening radio show. So we would love for you to be there and join us and get involved in the conversation. Maybe you have some questions. Maybe you have something to add. We would love to hear from you and have a conversation with you. So don't forget to join us then and come back next week for some more conversation about medicinals and all the things that we're learning as we go along. So until then, we'll talk to you later, and bye, y'all. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye.